So that's why you get into gestures, because when we see the demo, it looks like it's magic.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like that moment when, yeah, it's. I guess I'm trying to make people maybe feel something, being like, oh, that's so cool. And then you can rely on that feeling to do the work that's maybe less cool. But it's like remembering like, oh, I know that if I learn all of these things, I'll be able to make that. And that to me, that's I always start with an idea when I learn something. And that's why when I built my Air Street Fighter project, I started thinking, I wonder if I can do this. And that led me to like spend many hours trying to figure it out. And when I got it, when it worked, I had this rush of adrenaline.
So we are with Charlie Gérard from Stripe.
Yes.
We are at DevFest Nantes, and Charlie is a very special guest today.
Okay. Wow, yeah, stressful.
Not so stressful. So you are a senior developer advocate at Stripe.
Yes.
You are GDE for Google
Yes.
Developer Expert. You are author of a book called Practical Machine Learning in JavaScript, and you just gave a conference about gestures, yes.
Gestures in JS. I tried to be funny, and now I regret this title.
Because when I went to the conference, and I expected to see actually a lot of JavaScript.
Yeah.
But it was actually a lot of Java to go. Java, just Java things. Like I mean, most of the using the GAT thing.
Oh no! So it was a bit of C that was running on the Arduino, and the rest was JavaScript.
Yeah, it's not. Oh, the GAT was in C.
So the GAT. So well,
it wasn't in Android.
No.
No. Okay.
But I mean, like you can use GAT as a protocol, so you can use it in different languages.
Yeah, the interface looks the same as in Android. So
yeah, so the as it's a protocol, it's implemented differently, but you can do that in JavaScript now with Web Bluetooth API. That's like the whole thing.
So it makes sense. The Bluetooth API is the same, that even if you are using JavaScript or Java or C.
The concepts are the same, but I guess you're right. The syntax of the API a bit differently, but the concept of services and characteristics is the same.
Actually, it was looking so much the same. I thought it was Java.
So here you go. Maybe if people just know Java, now they can just, it's not that much effort to move to JavaScript.
If you have understood.
I mean, maybe that's why they actually build the API that way, so that people who already have knowledge wouldn't be too, kind of surprised by using it in JavaScript.
We'll get back to this in the second part, but it was very technical actually. So even for me, who wasn't in the subject right now, it's
well, thank you. I tried.
It was a tough introduction. But first, in the first part of the interview, I want to talk about you and your career path. What did you want to do as a child? Did you want to be a developer, or at which point did you want to move to software?
Yeah, so I remember wanting to be an English teacher. I mean, as a child, I think I was a teenager, I was still a child. But I had an English teacher that I really liked, and I think sometimes that's why I think your teachers kind of influence what you want to do. And I really wanted to, I loved English. I've always loved English. And I think the thing about teaching, about like trying to get somebody interested in the topic that you're interested in and trying to really make information accessible is something that I really was interested in. And but I didn't really, I didn't go to towards that path, but now that I'm an advocate, I feel like there's a little bit of that as well. It's the whole teaching aspect of getting excited about a topic and then doing all the hard part of the research, but then taking finding a way to talk about it that makes it easier for everybody else, so that maybe they don't have to do all the research that I did, but they still understand the topic that I'm talking about. That's it's technical, but in a different technical way. It's like understanding how people learn and how, what information is necessary, which one is not necessary, and building a flow so that people get access to information in a more, entertaining way maybe, but yeah.
So yeah, teaching, and you feel like you are still into something like teaching when you do conference?
I think so, yeah. I think, maybe people don't talk much about that, but the way that I prepare my talks is I spend so many hours on them, because it's not really about me. By the time that I prepare a talk, I already know the topic. So when you prepare the talk for a conference, it's really about like, okay, who am I going to talk to? Are they, if they already know JavaScript, then the way I'm going to talk about something is different than if they don't, or depending on the level. But also, I have to think about like, if I was starting again, how would I want to learn? And I try to build the talk that I wish I had, I guess. And every time I teach something, it's about that, figuring out the bits of information that maybe people don't need right now and they can look into later. But getting them excited enough in the topic, or getting people to the point where at the end of the talk, they get the core of it, and they don't feel lost, like if they were looking for their own resources. Like, for example, machine learning, because I've been giving quite a few talks about that, or even when I was writing my book. Reading about it is sometimes very dry, and there's so much information. And what I wanted to get to is a point where people could understand in maybe 20 minutes or half an hour, get them excited enough to, get that feeling of like, oh, I get it now. I love that feeling. Like when I look into something that's difficult, and then I read enough, and all of a sudden I have this like light bulb moment. It's like, oh, I get it. And that's the excitement that usually leads people to learn more about it. So I'm trying to do that. Not saying that I did, but if I can get to have that reaction in people, then that's what I like.
That's why you're not a multi-domain expert. You want people to get into something. You want to make them
because
learn.
and then if they have questions, I can try to answer them, but I feel like I can't have all the answers, and I'm interested in so many things that I move on very easily. So it's kind of like the intro, I kind of like open the door, and then I let people decide if they want to dive into it. There's so many different topics that I definitely don't want to tell people, you should do this or you should do that. It's more, hey, it's there, it's possible, you can do it in JavaScript, now you go.
And get them excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's if you can be excited about the domain that you work in, like tech, it's better than if you're not excited, right? So to me, I know that when I learn something, if it's dry and like not interesting, it will be such a chore to have to do it.
Okay.
Whereas a lot of the time when I learn something new, I try to find an application that excites me. So then I know that I'll, if I have to spend my Saturday or Sunday doing it, I'd rather be excited than have to be like, So, yeah.
So that's why you get into gesture. It's like you want people to, because when we see the demo, it looks like it's magic.
Yeah. I mean, it's like that moment when, I guess I'm trying to make people maybe feel something, being like, oh, that's so cool. And then you can rely on that feeling to do the work that's maybe less cool. But it's like remembering like, oh, I know that if I learn all of these things, I'll be able to make that. And that to me, that's I always start with an idea when I learn something. And that's why when I built my Air Street Fighter project, I started thinking, I wonder if I can do this. And that led me to like spend many, many hours trying to figure it out. And when I got it, when it worked, I had this rush of adrenaline for like 5 seconds. But it was great.
Yeah. It makes you dive into JavaScript, into C, into Bluetooth, and you are not an embedded system expert.
No, not at all. And it's that kind of idea that mixes a lot of different technologies, and it means that I can broaden my knowledge a lot more than what I have to do at work.
Because the street fighting was with computer vision. There was a camera looking at you.
No, so not that one. Not the one I made. It was just gesture. There's another one that somebody else made that is based on computer vision. But I didn't want to do that because then it means I have to be in front of a camera. Whereas with the one that I made, I could have been anywhere on stage and it would have still worked. So you could be physically in a room and you don't have to care about where a camera is. So you can build different versions of that. But yeah.
So you're already into it.
Yes, I am.
Is it because you learn English that you wanted to move abroad, or did you move abroad because you liked English?
Oh, I never really thought about it. I think... well, when I first moved, and it was supposed to be for 6 months, right? Because I was just supposed to finish my master's. But I think that I got there and I just loved it. Australia is like different from France, and it's very far. And I think that it's because I really felt like home over there. And then like in 6 months at uni, you make friends and things like that. And I thought I wanted to give it a try. I never thought I would stay 8 years, right? But it starts with 6 months and then you stay 8 years. And then I just got this kind of interest in understanding different cultures and seeing how things work outside of France or outside of Europe. So it made it easier that I already loved English, because it meant that it wasn't too hard for me to get used to it. But I don't know if I would have done it if I didn't love English or if I wasn't that comfortable at the time. But when you're immersed in English, you have to do it anyway.
Would you say you have a Aussie accent?
So I don't know. To me, I have no accent at all. But people tell me that I have a mix of British and Australian. So there's some words that I probably learned over there that I'm saying with their accent.
Isn't that what American people say when they can't make a point about what the accent is?
I don't know. But like I have mix of French, British. Because when you learn at school, it's kind of like British English. And then I can't do anything about the fact that there's a bit of French in me. And I think Australian, there's some words that I say that people tell me it sounds Australian. Probably because I learned them over there. So I learned with their accent. I don't sound American. Not yet. But yeah.
There is actually 50 Shades of American.
Yeah, as well. Oh, well. I don't sound Texan.
Sometimes. And I mean, do you think there is a difference when you move from Seattle to San Francisco, for example? Like
I don't hear it there.
You don't hear it?
Or it's like when people say sometimes people in Chicago sound different. I just don't hear that.
Yeah?
No.
Yeah, on the East Coast, you feel it. Like you move from Boston to Norfolk,
so
the accent is different.
I think to me it has to be strong for me to really hear it. Otherwise, I'm like...
It's not everyone. It's like some people they have a very strong accent. And people around there
like Southern American, I would understand. I mean, I would see the difference. But the rest, no. Sometimes it's so strong I can't understand people. But yeah. Maybe people can't understand me, so it's fine as well.
Yeah, I had this feeling too. Like when I was in the US, we drove over the night to Charlestown.
Yeah.
And when we woke up in Charlestown, the first guy who talked to me, I was like, whoa.
Yeah. I'm like, with a smile. Yeah. I mean,
he was asking about something, like he needed help about something.
Oh, he needed help.
I can't tell more.
Well, sometimes accents.
Maybe he was looking for a place or something. I don't know.
We'll never know.
Okay, cool. At which point did your first job in Australia?
My first tech job was in Australia. Because it's always hard to find a job as a junior. So I looked at companies that were hiring, and my first job was at ThoughtWorks, which is a consultancy. So I was a software engineer, but also a consultant, and they had a graduate program. So I thought, as they were advertising their graduate program, so I thought it would probably be one of the companies that would be okay to hire me, even though I did a boot camp. And also I loved their mission at the time. That was more around tech for good. That's kind of like what drove me to try to apply there. And I feel like it was a great first job to get into the industry. Yeah.
What was it like to make a boot camp in Australia?
I loved it. I think I had like the best teacher ever. At the time, boot camps were not super trendy. I think it was getting started, and also companies didn't really know that a boot camp was a thing. So, there was a bit of a risk there. But we were only 9 people in my class, which is now, I often go back to that. I mean, when I'm in Australia, I go back to that boot camp to say hi to my teacher. And now classes are like 25 people. So I think the experience would have been very different. But at the time, it was great. It's like a bunch of people who want to change career. So we all have the same goal. And you go through these like practical projects. So you feel like you're building something. It's not only theoretical, like you actually write code and you have little projects that you can show on your resume. So when you apply somewhere, even though you don't have prior experience professionally, you have projects that you can show for yourself. So to me, it was definitely a great learning experience. I can understand the difference between a bachelor's degree and a boot camp, but to me, there's no better or worse way. Like, it definitely worked out for me. So
you told me it was a bonding experience with the people.
Yeah, definitely. Well, because it's very intense. Mm-hmm. So it's like only 12 weeks. So you have 12 weeks to go from no code at all to being ready to get a job, right? So definitely very long days, like packed with knowledge and building projects with people. So it can be tough. Like, cried multiple times. Like, sometimes you do wonder, like, is it for me? Did I make a mistake? Because you really go from knowing nothing about code to building full stack applications, back end, front end, learning how to style it and all of that. So there was really a lot. And I still, sometimes I still catch up with my fellow boot campers. I don't know if you say it like that, but the people that I met over there. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think university bachelor is bonding as much.
Probably not. I mean, like you have more people in the classroom. And if you don't do practical things, maybe you don't have that.
People take different courses.
Yeah, as well. Whereas no, like, boot camp was all day, every day in a small classroom with like, people knowing that they all took the same risk and you're sure that they want to do this. Whereas I think maybe at uni, if people don't really know if they want to do this, they picked it because it sounded interesting, but maybe they don't. I mean, I don't know. Like, there's probably different paths.
I went to university in Canada, and the fact is, like, I had 3 courses at the time, but it was not the same people in each courses. Yeah. And some people were doing only 1 courses at a time.
Yeah, right, okay.
Because they would do the MSc over 3 or 5 years. You know? Yeah. And the people were the same if you took courses during evening. There was courses from 18 to 22.
Oh, yeah, right, okay.
And during day.
Yeah, no, that was, no, for us it was, same classroom, probably more than 9 to 5 because we were all working a lot. But I think there's also this risk that we all took, and it means that it's bonding over the fact that we all know that if we don't do this right, like, we're going to have some financial issues. But yeah, I still talk to, it's like I made lifelong friends. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of my friends in Sydney are from bootcamp.
So you did help each other to find a job after the bootcamp?
Did I, what, sorry?
Did the people in the bootcamp, did they help each other to find a job?
So there was kind of like an outcomes program where so at the end of the course, they organized some kind of job fair where there was a list of potential employers that were interested, and we were showing our projects, and we could kind of tick the ones that we were interested in, and they were doing that as well. So they had our profile, and it was kind of like this matchmaking job thing. Yeah. I didn't find a job through that. I found a job because I went on the ThoughtWorks site and I looked at their. I applied through the site, so I didn't find my job through the job fair, but I think some people did. It's just that I think at the time ThoughtWorks wasn't coming to the job fair, but I was like, I want this job, so I'm gonna go get it.
Is for a company that is publicly engaged like ThoughtWorks, did you feel more comfortable, like they would be more inclusive?
They cared a lot about inclusivity and diversity, because also it's a global company, so we had offices in a lot of different countries. And it's one of I know that their mission was around social justice, and even in the interview process, there were some questions about diversity. And the way that they were doing their interview process, there was always 2 people per interview to avoid or to reduce bias, so you wouldn't have to be only in front of 1 person. And even when I was there, like when you start as a graduate, still don't know if they do that now, but at the time, all the graduates went for 5 weeks to India. To kind of to learn like as a group, it's kind of a training program or something like that. So you were mixed with all the graduates from around the world in India. Yeah. It was my first time in India, and that was like a good view of like, okay, this is ThoughtWorks. I'm multicultural, like different accents. Yeah. Sometimes we were struggling to understand each other, but it was really interesting. And you often have people who move offices around the world as well. So
my question is. They're engaged about social justice and things like this, but does it help for an imposter phenomenon?
In what way? Like,
well, when you're a junior, you are afraid to experience. You might be afraid to experience an imposter phenomenon. Yeah. But it's. I would expect a company like this to help with this. So, but I'm not sure.
To me, I think I've always. It's hard not to feel like an imposter when you join a job or when you try something new. But they had this mentoring program, which means that everybody has a mentor or a buddy. So, and I had somebody who was really good, and I still talk to him. He's still a friend, and he made me very comfortable. And the way that they used to work as well is we were pairing all day. So that wasn't always my favorite because it's exhausting to me. But sitting with that person and having them. They teach you things about a code base or about a programming language, so you really felt like you were not left on your own to figure everything out. You had, there was always a few grads hired at the time, so you could bond over the grad experience. But there was also, you're always in a team with very, very nice people, very smart. Like there was no ego or nobody trying to be like better or anything. And the vibe was always very welcoming. Like that's why, to me, I think as a first experience in the industry, it was great. It really set the bar quite high, and then I left.
Okay, cool. What was it like when you started looking for a job in the US?
So when I applied for Netlify, I was actually still in Australia, but I was telling them, I'm looking to move somewhere else for a little bit. And so Netlify was a startup when I joined. It was about 70 people, so it was quite small. And the interview process was kind of the same as the one in other companies. So, it's always a bit hard to interview, but I didn't feel like it was super difficult, coding challenge and then discussions about culture, fit, and things like that. So I didn't struggle too much, and I feel lucky because a lot of the times I hear people who, especially people who are just entering the industry now, who are struggling to find their first job. So Netlify wasn't my first job, but I didn't feel like in terms of getting a job in the US or somewhere else, I haven't seen a difference. But yeah.
How is it welcome to have done a bootcamp now to find a job in the US?
So I can't really talk about it as somebody who's just finished a bootcamp because I wouldn't know. I think for me now, nobody even cares about it anymore because I think I've been working for 8 years, so they really don't even ask how I studied. It's more like what have I done in the last 2 years. I think as for people doing a bootcamp now, I follow on Twitter the whole 100 Devs bootcamp. I don't know if people heard about it. It's like an online bootcamp, and often on Twitter I see new graduates tweeting I got my first job after doing the 100 Devs bootcamp. So I'm hoping that people are not struggling to find jobs, but I think it's always hard because a lot of companies only hire seniors. Yeah. So I never really understand that. But where do you think seniors come from? But yeah, anyway.
I mean, for graduate people now, is it as easy for people with a bootcamp than people with a BSc, for example?
I would hope so. I think a lot of companies now, there's a lot of demand as well. So I'm hoping that means that companies are less into only doing only people from a bachelor's degree. But also I feel like from a bootcamp you have things you can show that you have built that are, points that, if somebody shows you in front of you something that they built, you can look at their coding skills. Whereas a degree, you can maybe talk about it. I don't know if you build as many projects, but I would hope that it's kind of the same. But I think look, for example, if you wanted to work at Google, they still do the interviews where you have to talk about data structures and algorithms. And that's to me, that's not something I did in a bootcamp. So if you want your first job to be Google, probably will be a bit harder from a bootcamp. But I feel like there's in all of other jobs, like Netlify never asked me about data structures and algorithms, Stripe neither. So I think companies now understand that, I think you can feel if a candidate would be a good fit without having to ask these questions. So hopefully now it's easier. I hope so for people.
Makes sense. I'm thinking, do they really still ask those kind of questions at Google, or is it? Sometimes I feel like it's just an insider thing, They are about AI, and they need to have everybody understand what is undergo its complexity. Yeah. So
I interviewed at Google when I was still in Sydney because I was interested in one of the role that they had. And I didn't make it through the first step because they asked me questions about algorithms and data structures and I wasn't ready. I mean, I had studied a little bit, but they asked me questions that I didn't study. So it's I think that for the job, I don't think I would have needed that.
Also, I saw recently there was an article about somebody who got a job at Google after applying something like 50 times. And,
I'm not. I don't want to work at Google that bad.
Somebody I know who is an expert in his domain. Told I got the job at only. It was only the second time I did the application. Yeah. I feel like everybody needs to apply a lot to get. Well, to me,
I know that. I mean, maybe the next time I would get it. I'm not trying right now, but. I've heard a lot that people don't get it the first time. Or I have a friend who is now at Google in Sydney. And he told me that he studied for 6 months before he actually applied. So, and he's very smart, and he still felt like he had to study for 6 months. So I feel like now I'm a bit more aware of what they would want in the interview if I wanted to reapply. But also, I probably wouldn't have used that in the job. It was something. The role I was interested in, they wanted somebody to work on the accessibility tabs of the Chrome DevTools, and that sounded super interesting to me. And I don't know if I would use every day, like merge sort. I mean, yeah, maybe.
In an interview process with Google, I did the graph solving thing for developer advocate position.
Oh, okay. Well, I won't be an advocate there.
It was definitely a commercial position.
Yeah.
Salesperson position. I was still doing graph solution.
But the thing is, I think they have enough people going through the pipeline. They don't think they have to change because there's enough people who will study to get a job there. And to me, it's I don't know. I like my job, so maybe if I really want something, but yeah.
It's not the whole industry is not doing this on the West Coast. Like most companies are not going this way.
No, so when I was interviewed for Stripe, I was at the same time interviewing with Netflix, and they didn't do that neither. I went through like there was 12 different steps. It was exhausting, but there was no question about algorithm and data structure. There was one that was around, I think it was a system design, but that was really interesting. Like I had a very nice chat. To me, I was obviously interested in the job. I picked Stripe, but it sounded really interesting. And it was more of a conversation where I was drawing a potential system and stuff, and it wasn't something super strict, or at least my interview experience was really nice, but it wasn't questions about data structure, algorithms, performance, and things. So even Netflix, which is like one of the FANG companies, they don't even do that because they think you're not going to use it, so it's not useful.
Makes sense.
So it was a lot of steps though. It was exhausting, but it wasn't about data structure and algorithms.
I have some kind of a very special question.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you are a very social person, like even in your professional life.
It's all a lie.
But when you talk about your career, you talk about the people you've been with, not about the results you have had.
Yeah, true.
And I always felt like being a software engineer is a very lonely job.
It depends. I actually feel more lonely as an advocate than I was as an engineer, a product engineer. I mean, still an engineer, but I do different stuff.
My question is like, what are the choices you made to find a job, to find position?
Yeah.
When you can have this social interaction, maybe there is some green flags you are looking when you are looking into a company.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely red flags. To me, I always pick my jobs based on the people that I want to work with. I think I didn't always do that. You know, when you start your career, you don't really know. You think, I'm going to pick like the big names or anything. I only had to pick the big names because that's how you get a visa if you want to work overseas. But otherwise now, I pick based on the people. So if I know people who are already in the company, I trust that, okay, if they're my friend, they wouldn't work there if it was horrible. So it gives me a bit of an idea of what the company would be like. But usually, red flag, it's always a feeling when you interview, and is it like a comfortable chat or not? And I'm always trying to. To me, the most important thing is going to look at who's going to be my manager, because I know that they're going to have a huge impact into my career path inside a company. So if I don't get along with the manager, or if I feel like the manager is not really answering my questions, or if when I ask about career paths they don't know yet, and like I feel a little bit like, well, are you ready for me? Because like I don't want to just do what you're telling me. Like I have ambitions as well. And to me the red flag is mostly around managers. There's a lot of bad managers out there, so it's
yes, that's a question I would like to ask you. Like, do you think there is more training for managers in Australia or in the US than in France?
I wish there was more training in general. My opinion, or in my experience, I feel like there's a lot of people getting into a management role from product engineer, and they don't have training at all. And it's, from what I've seen at least, I've had that happen multiple times, where somebody's an engineer and they've been an engineer for maybe like 1 or 2 years, and now they're like, oh, what's next? And then there's like manager, as if it was just whatever promotion. And sometimes I wish people maybe took a bit more seriously the fact that you go from like working just for you to like managing people, and that has a huge impact on the rest of the team. And I wish that companies maybe offered more training, because I feel like an engineer is promoted to manager, and then it's just like, just manage people, as if that's a real job. People get degrees in management. So I wish there was more training overall. Some people really have the right thing for this, but some people, it's just not for them. And I wish that I wish maybe they could like shadow somebody, like a shadow manager or something. I don't know if it's a thing, or they could have like a trial. But I feel like the impact when you're going into a management role and you don't really want to do it, or you don't really know how to do it, the impact that you have is a lot of people end up quitting. So it's like, it's not happening to me right now, but it has happened. And more training for managers, please. Yeah.
It's a green flag.
Yeah, I mean, like, to me, it's I'm willing to like work with somebody if it's their first role, like we can work together. But I like when people admit that they have never done something before or that they're not really sure. Like, I'd rather it's a collaboration. But I don't, when people kind of hide that they don't know what they're doing, I don't like that because I can see it.
I'm just wondering right now, you can't shadow 1-1.
So there are companies who it's not called shadowing, but I forgot the name of it. But they kind of have this trial period where you were a product manager, and then for maybe 3 months you're going to be managing, but not too many people, maybe 1 or 2 person. Yeah. And you are in these meetings with other managers, and you kind of ask for tips, or you have some kind of mentor manager. And then after the 3 months, if you've done an okay job and if you still want to do this, then you're fully into the manager role. So it's like because it's a different role. So you should have a transition period, even just for you to know, do you really want to do this?
Have you seen company where they do like the Freaky Friday manager?
Oh my God, no, but what is
Freaky
this?
Friday manager day.
What is that?
Manager day. Have you seen the movie Freaky Friday?
Yeah.
Basically, it's like you would exchange team as a manager.
Yeah.
So you see the people you are now in 1-1, they will tell you, oh, my manager used to do this. So you used to do things differently.
Okay.
Because you can't go with the other manager when he does the 1-1.
Yeah.
But you can do the 1-1 instead of him.
Yeah.
And the people will reflect you the difference.
I thought you meant, because you know in Freaky Friday they like bump into each other. And I thought you meant that I could on a random Friday be like, I'm the manager now. I would do that.
It sometimes happens like... the first idea when I read it in the book, it was like if the back-end team is not talking with the front-end team, let's switch the manager for a few.
Actually, that's a cool idea. I mean, but that would maybe fix some issues, because then you end up in your own little bubble and giving feedback to manager. I've never seen that happen. I mean, maybe it's a bit, but I wish there was more feedback in both directions. But
do you want to be a manager later in your career?
No, I don't think I could, because it's just no. I would miss coding, and also when you're a manager, you have a lot to deal with, like more the business side and like leadership, and I just want to build things. I think I don't really like politics inside a company, and I don't want to have to explain to somebody why I can't give them a promotion even if I think they deserve it. Like that kind of stuff, I don't want to. It would break my heart. I would be like, I like coding.
Okay, cool. Do you want to have a last word? Like, do you have a tips for people who are watching We Love Devs and want to be happy in IT?
Oh, being happy in IT. I mean, to me, as I said before, like, it's all about the people. I know that we spend our day in front of the computer, but at the end of the day, you never really get to write the best code ever. You never really get to learn all of the tech things, but the people that you meet will have a huge impact on not only at the time that you're having at a certain company, but then the people that you meet can also find you, help you find jobs later in other places. And the people that you meet at conferences can also give you a real opinion about where they work and help you get a job somewhere else. So to me, it's always about the people. It's the people that you remember. When you leave a company, you don't remember the code you wrote, and it doesn't matter as well. So, I mean, like, I like what I do, but in the end, it's the jobs that I've found are because I wanted to work with certain people, and that's where you really learn with like an exchange of knowledge or even different cultures. And so if you can. In interview processes, if you can really get a sense of who you want to work with, not always what you want to work on. To me, that's how I do my whole career path.
The definition of the people you want to work with is something that you built in the first year of your career.
It changed over time, yes.
Over time.
But because to me, I really want people I'm comfortable with, and not everybody's really good at that. So it's not really like... I don't look for, I want to work with a person who knows technology X. It's more like, can I have a joke with you? Or, how is the vibe? Like, do I feel like I can give you feedback? For example, Can I be vulnerable? Can I, if I think you did something wrong, do I feel like you're going to react in like a an okay way, and you're going to maybe like apologize, or is there going to be this like weird, vibe? Are we really going to be having fun with each other? Because if you can make work fun, that's better. Like you want to wake up and actually do the work. Because I think every job is going to be hard at one point or another, and you rely on your team after that. If you're pressured to deliver faster, or if you work on a project you don't like, at the end of the day, you will bond with the people that you work with. And to me, there's always something to learn by working with different people. And so it's more like personality type more than where they come from or what they know. Whatever.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah.
Thanks a lot, Charlie.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching. Appuyez sur le bouton pour vous abonner. Laissez un commentaire sur la vidéo YouTube ou une note sur les plateformes de streaming. Si vous laissez un commentaire ou une question pour Charlie, je m'assurerai que Charlie reçoit une notification et puisse vous répondre. Donc, n'hésitez pas à aller au-delà de l'interview et poser vos propres questions pour Charlie. Et encore, merci beaucoup d'avoir regardé les vidéos. Pensez à regarder d'autres vidéos sur la chaîne. On va publier des vidéos du DevFest tout au long de l'année peut-être. Ça peut prendre du temps. Mais donc, appuyez sur la cloche et abonnez-vous. Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup, Charlie.
Merci.